Hey, folks, welcome to another edition of the Morning Call Show. I'm Bob Sellers here with Jerry Burke, a couple of news vets trying to pick the right and wrong in between the right and left. Jerry, good morning.
Good morning. As always, Bob, I have a ton of good stories for you.
Okay.
Starting again with Dolly Parton.
Okay.
There is a move to rename Nashville Airport
Yeah.
after Dolly Parton.
Yes.
That effort is gaining traction now
Right.
after countless fans have made the petition.
Yep.
However, you remember yesterday we were talking about her politics and
Yeah.
her lack thereof?
Yes.
Well, one of her former co-stars, Ricky Schroeder, remember him?
Yeah.
Little Ricky?
Yeah.
Well, he has sparked a furious backlash over what some are saying his disrespectful tribute to the late country legend. He said he's been getting severe criticism over what is being called a foul Instagram remembrance, where he took a swipe at Parton's politics just hours after news of her death broke. The post featured a photo of him with her, along with the caption, "I did not agree with her advocating for transgender and COVID vaccine support, but I loved her anyway."
Okay.
What do you
So
make of that? And here we thought that she didn't have any political beliefs.
I don't think it. No, she said that she tries not to get political because, yes, of course, she has her views, but she doesn't want to alienate anybody because her job is to entertain, and that's what she does.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure there's certain things she felt personal about, and she's quoted as saying, "I love people on both sides. I live in both worlds, right and left, and I love people right and left." And
Yeah.
I think that's fair. Also, why can't you think for yourself? I mean, let me give you an example, Jerry. I was pro development of the vaccine. I was anti mandating the vaccine, right? You
Yeah.
can think for yourself. You don't, the word vaccine comes, and she, I think, saying vaccine, vaccine, vaccine.
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
we get it. She was trying to set an example for people. Remember, she was older. A lot of older people were afraid to get it, but the older people were dying. You and I used to do a show where we had a guest, actually from Middle Tennessee, who died. He didn't get, I'm not saying he should have gotten the vaccine, but he
Yeah.
did die of COVID. So
Yeah.
that would, and also Trump developed the vaccine. He's the one that guaranteed it would be developed. I thought it was a great accomplishment. Again,
Yeah.
mandate different, but developing it was fine. So she was trying to encourage people to get it.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you want to go at first of all, I got into a political brouhaha this morning with somebody on Twitter, which doesn't happen that often, because they were arguing the left always tries to flesh out the views of celebrities as they tried to do with Dolly. Yet you just gave me an example of Ricky Schroeder, who apparently, as a conservative, didn't like her viewpoint. So,
Yeah.
and my argument was both sides tried to get celebrities on their side, and
Yeah.
Dolly, somebody that tried to resist that.
Well, a couple of other celebrities did jump to Dolly's defense. Journalist Katie Couric, remember her, simply
Vaguely.
responded to Ricky Schroeder. She just wrote "ick" as her comment, while singer Boy George quipped, "Oh, shut up."
Yeah. You know, uh, some of the great work that Ricky Schroeder has done, such as, um, uh, I can't remember any great work that Ricky Schroeder's done,
I know.
but that's it's like everybody's going to have their opinion, and I just wow, Jerry,
Yeah.
when you and I were growing up, people had their. Not only that, Jerry, but it seems to me somewhere in this right and left world, you and I have worked on both sides. Sometimes there's overlap. Sometimes you
Yeah.
feel one way on one thing and not on another. Why does it have to be, oh, she was liberal or, oh, she was conservative? This is a girl who came up by her bootstraps in East
Yeah.
Tennessee, the American dream. I mean, it
Yep.
goes
Yep.
beyond that.
Incarnate. Yeah.
I, I'm going to throw out something that is Dolly related, but completely different. Okay. Let
Okay.
me show somebody who was quite sad yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Um, her name is Bells, and she is a performer. And let me tell you about Bells, what is really cool about her. She is a singer, and she came up with the idea of writing a song called Son of Jolene.
Oh,
Okay. And it was based on, and so she wrote a song that she met a boy, she liked him. She didn't really listen that much when he talked about his mom. And then the guy ends up cheating on her.
oh,
And turns out his mom is Jolene. And
oh,
she was saying she should have known better for the way
yeah,
Jolene would have brought up her little boy. And so those lyrics, Jerry, got to
yeah.
Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton reached out to that girl, said, "Come on here and we're going to record this." And
Oh,
Dolly Parton sings background vocals on
oh,
that
wow,
song. The song is called Son of Jolene. I think this is it. Yeah, it's Son of Jolene.
wow.
So if you go to her site, you can look it up. Maybe we could talk to her or something, Jerry,
Yeah,
because I love this story. It's so Bells, the performer, was heartbroken, of course,
yeah,
but and understandably so. But that's the kind of person Dolly Parton was. This
yeah.
young, up and coming artist.
Aren't
Yeah,
we
come
hearing
on.
story? We're hearing so many stories like that. You know,
I know.
like even the rapper Eminem got a letter from Dolly congratulating him on when they both got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You know,
Exactly.
so random.
Yes. Speaking of random, let's bring up somebody to talk about this with his thoughts.
Oh, there
I
you go.
think, let me make sure we can hear you.
Good morning.
Good
Garrett
morning.
Mason, good morning. Garrett, Jerry, and folks watching, is a former state senator in Maine. Grew up
Uh,
in Maine and knows it inside and out. Has been very successful politician, and we're going to talk about all things Maine, including the Canadian tariffs and the challenges Susan Collins has. But since we were talking about Dolly, Garrett, any
yeah.
thoughts on that yourself?
Well, good morning, guys, and thanks for
Good
having
morning.
me. Yeah, I do. I grew up listening to Dolly Parton. This is going to sound very manufactured, but I grew up listening to Dolly Parton with my dad in his truck going to work.
Yeah.
And I was listening to y'all's show yesterday, and one of the things that both of you said, and I think it's true, is that people in the Boston, New York, DC corridor probably didn't get the legacy of Dolly Parton,
Yeah.
but people in rural America did,
Yeah.
and that extends into the Northeast. And I think that that's it's a good segue into what we're going to talk about today, which is Maine, and how different of a place Maine is. If you go north of really where I live, which is only 40 minutes north of Portland, it's
Mm,
it's real Maine. It's what we call real Maine, and it's when I was in college in Florida, people called it the lost Southern state because
mm,
everybody north of Portland really has a lot of those values that Dolly Parton sang about for 60
yeah.
years, and
Right.
so it's a tremendous loss to the country.
Well, let's
Yeah.
talk about Maine because, from my experience in Maine, I've vacationed there at Acadia, which is spectacular. By the way, as way underrated as a national park, Acadia
Yeah.
National Park.
Mm-hmm.
And I've lived in Oregon and Washington State, California. I've lived all over the country. And something I think you would agree with in Maine, Garrett, is that once you get outside the cities, it's a different world politically.
Oh,
Mm,
totally. It's so I mean, Maine is split right down the middle between two districts. We got a southern first district and northern second district. And our second district, we're one of only two states that splits our electoral votes, has gone to Donald Trump 3 out of the past 3 elections. It's very conservative. It's Trump plus 9. And you go down south, and it's just as hard of a swing, if not harder, to the left. You
mm,
really have two very distinct areas. And, that I think is what the battle is in this election, not only around the country, but in Maine.
Yeah.
And it's a battle of two Maines. I think the most interesting thing in this election specifically is that the Democrats don't know how to talk to the conservative Mainer, and even the rightward leaning Mainer. You look at what happened in this race. I mean, it has been a Days of Our Lives compilation since last October, with the entry of Graham Plattner edging out our current fairly popular Democratic governor, Janet Mills, in that primary. And Graham Plattner was cosplaying as a Mainer. Yes, he's lived here his whole life, but he spent a large bulk of it in Washington, D.C. And then when when all of that, the allegations broke out, if the Nazi tattoo wasn't enough, everything else came out about him with the sexual assault allegations and whatnot. They Kamala'd in Troy Jackson. And Troy Jackson is somebody that I know very well. When I was majority leader of the state Senate here in Maine, he was minority leader. And Troy Jackson is another person who has been really cosplaying as somebody sensitive to the needs of Northern Maine, which is where he is from, but it has not echoed that in the legislature and has been a political chameleon for 20 years.
First of all, I haven't heard Kamala used as a verb. I think you just said it was Kamala'd in. Nicely there. And let's talk about the challenges for Susan Collins. I'm going to try to call up some graphics here, but my eyesight is not great, and I pull out the wrong thing. That's my bad. But we do see that. What's it say, Jerry?
Republicans are caught in a.
Yeah, and so here Trump. We go. Okay, we've got some tariffs with Canada, right? That Trump has imposed. And I was kind of curious, you're a border state, but as somebody that doesn't live at the border, I wonder how much does that affect anybody in that state?
Yeah. Well, it's a huge problem. For us specifically, we have one of the largest borders in the country. People don't think that. We have the largest maritime border in the world. We have the longest coastline in the world. In the United States, rather. That's even longer than California because of all of our inlets and islands. Wow. We also have a incredibly large northern frontier. Our economy here in Maine is deeply intertwined into Canada's. When I grew up, I grew up right outside of Lewiston, Maine. And growing up, we would go into the restaurant and my grandfather would order our breakfast in French. And that still happens in many places here today.
What's your border province? Is it Quebec? What is it?
It's Quebec and New Brunswick.
Okay.
We border more provinces than we border states. And so our economy is deeply intertwined. A large part of our northern electric grid is not in the American electric grid. It's in the Canadian electric grid.
And they've threatened to shut that off.
They have. And, so our potato industry, Maine produces more than 90% of the world's wild blueberries. Our lobster industry is deeply intertwined with Canada. Most of the processing is done in New Brunswick and St. John. And so it's one and the same. As somebody who's worked a lot with agriculture in my time in the legislature and afterwards, most of our potato processing is done up north through McCain's Foods. If you've had a French fry in the United States, you've likely had a Maine potato. That's a huge piece. Thankfully we just found out just a few minutes ago, breaking news guys for you, is that Melanie Joly, who is the Canadian trade minister, has just announced that lobster will not be included on their retaliatory tariffs, which is great news for us. However, what I will say is the Canadian government is playing in our elections. In that same statement, Melanie Joly put out that saying that Canada is absolutely playing into the midterm elections and certain states will be targeted more than others, including Maine. So what's happening here in our election with Susan Collins, tariffs are going to be a big problem and a big conversation in this election.
Jared.
Yep. Well, I'm relieved to hear the news about the lobsters.
A
You know,
cheaper lobster roll in this shoulder summer season. So
uh, Garrett, I want to also ask you about this story that came up this morning. There are new fears that Vladimir Putin is about to use tactical nuclear weapons in Ukraine.
hmm,
Voices in Moscow calling for nuclear warheads are becoming louder, and Putin is surveying his options for escalation of the war.
yeah.
What would that do to the world?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, it would be unbelievably tragic and horrific, apocalyptic, all the adjectives that you want to use.
Mm,
But let me tell you, Jerry, this is exactly why we need people like Susan Collins in office.
mm,
Susan Collins has been the voice of reason for not only President Trump, whether he likes to admit it or not, uh,
yeah.
presidents like Obama, Bush, Clinton have all listened to the reason of Senator Collins when times like this strike.
Mm,
And she is a well-known ally of Ukraine. However, she has served on the Intelligence Committee, Foreign Affairs Committee. She knows these issues inside and out. And one of the things, this vice president was just here in Maine the other day, stumping for the Paul LePage, who's running for Congress in the Northern District, and he said that Senator Collins has been to his house at the Naval Observatory 6 times. Her advice is going through channels into the White House, and if we lost her, situations that you just talked about with
mm.
rogue world leaders would be more dangerous without
Yeah.
Senator Collins in office.
Wow. What do you think she would advise if Putin drops a nuke in Ukraine?
One of the things I think people get wrong about Senator Collins is that, yes, she's measured, but she's strong and she's not
Mm,
afraid to hit back. I do
yeah.
think that Senator Collins, while I would never speak for her, I do think that Senator Collins would advise a firm response. And I think if Vladimir Putin did this, obviously, I think NATO would get involved. I think Senator Collins would encourage that. And I think that Senator Collins also knows so much about the finances of this country as
Oh,
chair of the Appropriations Committee.
yeah.
She knows how to make money work. She's a frugal Northern Mainer.
Yeah.
She's a very, very frugal woman. But I think one of the things that you're hearing right now about how the Treasury Secretary has intervened in propping up the yuan in the yen in China, in Japan, that all
Yeah.
has to do with the ability to create more Patriot missiles and things like that. I think
Hmm.
Senator Collins can give great advice on how to make war work for America and how to retaliate with strength.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's one thing that people get wrong about her. Senator Collins is a very strong woman and knows how to punch back.
Mm.
Garrett, what do you think about Trump spending a lot of money and trying to make the midterms more about him? And as background, I should mention that typically those Republicans down ballot do well when he's at the top of the ballot. However, in midterms, he's not on the ballot, literally.
Right.
But this time he's trying to be at a time when his popularity is around 32, 33%. So, how do you judge that? Is that helpful for him to be in front of mind of Mainers, or is that a negative?
So I think this is another scenario where I think the Republican Party needs to start thinking beyond one person. When President Trump is running for office, when he's run for president, his numbers have gone up considerably, even in places like Maine. But I think this is where someone like Susan Collins shines. Susan Collins has created her own brand, and she's had to because she's a Northeast Republican. The days of Olympia Snow are gone. The days of other Northeast, um, socially liberal, fiscally conservative Republicans are gone. She's the last one standing. And I
Mhm.
think in this election, she will be able to do something for the Republican Party that no other candidate in no other state can do. She can keep an arm's length from Trump. She can also stand on the accomplishments of the administration while having a proven, believable record that she has
Mhm.
differentiated herself over time and done what is best for Maine. So I think in regards to Trump in Maine, I'm not sure that it's going to impact her that much because if you talk to anybody on the street here in Maine, they do not believe that Senator Collins is a Trump
Mm.
Or believer. They
Right.
just don't believe that. It's not a
Right.
believable storyline. So
That's
when
what
I
gets
see,
her in trouble with Trump.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And
Yeah.
so when you see that on TV, I was just in the gym this morning, watching it while I was running, and the TV is flooded with ads. And you see the national PACs for Troy Jackson talking about how she's a rubber stamp for Trump, and it makes you laugh
That's
because
not believable.
nobody believes that. No one believes it.
No. Jerry, you have anything else?
I wasn't going to bring this up with Garrett, but I like him. I got one last story I want to run by you. Okay.
Sure.
Our favorite baller, Enos Cantor Freedom.
Yeah.
Bob laughs whenever I'm obsessed with this story. His stunt at the WNBA the other night drew record TV ratings. In fact, the game with Enos scored a new WNBA record for viewership since 1997. It was the most watched regular season game. How about that?
So, if you guys want a little fun fact about me, before I got into politics, I worked in professional sports, and I worked for the AA affiliate of the Red Sox, the Portland Sea Dogs up here in Maine, and then I worked in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, traveling all over Canada, working with hockey players. And so this has been coming in professional sports for a long time. When I started in 2006, 2007 timeframe, this run up to woke policies and woke ideas being injected into professional sports has been a fast track. What do I think about that? It's about time somebody tried to pull something like this off, because I'm involved in a group here in Maine called Maine Girl Dads, and it has to do specifically with keeping boys out of girls' sports at the high school level. And we were successful in getting over 80,000 signatures to interpret Title IX the correct way here in Maine. And I mean, listen, they ought to be writing this guy a royalty check for what he I mean, this is getting that kind of ratings for a WNBA game, a league that has been propped up by the NBA for the better part of 20 years. They ought to be thrilled. And
then Caitlin Clark comes in, and they start flying charters and making real money. And then the refs and the other players go after Caitlin Clark. I mean, it's ridiculous. I'll leave it on this, since you had a connection to AA team. When I was in college, I played at Virginia, played baseball. I was drafted out of high school by Kansas City, so I was pretty good. I was invited to play up the Cape Cod League at one time. I played in the Valley League instead. Yeah. But I remember in college, it was early spring, and a lot of teams would come down from up north, and we would beat the heck out of them because they just weren't ready. We were among their first games. Well, the University of Maine came down, and it's like, oh, they kicked our butts. And it's like, what are these lumberjacks doing? And they ended up they went to the College World Series because they were that good. So that's the first time I remember Maine registering on for baseball.
Well, the wood that most of those bats are made from are from right here in Maine. So we know a little bit something about baseball.
All right. Garrett Mason, thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me, guys.
Yeah, right. Thank you, Garrett.
We'll talk to you again soon.
Right. Okay.
Nice guy.
Yeah. Very smart.
Yeah, very good. You have anything else, Jerry?
Well, you remember we wanted to play that clip. I forgot to mention it with Garrett, but the Palace Guard at Buckingham Palace.
Let me see if I can get that. I loved this, just like you did. See if I can pick up the right one. It's about 47 seconds, I think. So, folks, enjoy. Is that
That's
the best?
brilliant. Wasn't that brilliant? The
The
Palace Guard,
last
the
place in
Palace
the
Guard
world.
paying tribute to Dolly Parton.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and anything else, Jerry?
No, like I'm good for today.
Okay. Are you sure? Because you seem like you
Well,
might be.
I had one other story, if I could
Okay, go
squeeze
ahead.
it in. I think you made a headline for it from yesterday. The
Oh,
a pickup truck pulled up in front of the Supreme Court yesterday with
yeah.
a guillotine attached to the back of it,
Let's see
and
if
the
I
driver
have it.
just sat there.
It's so hard for me to see. Just did I show that earlier? There it is. Not a great photo because it's kind of
No, no,
squeezed.
but on the left there, you can see
Yeah.
there's a large guillotine
What's that?
packed in the back of that truck.
Was that
The man was
symbolic?
arrested. He was arrested on charges of carrying a dangerous weapon. It's kind of hard to hide a guillotine, you
Yeah,
know.
really. It,
His truck
like,
was found.
Was it a working
The details are kind of sketchy. His pickup
Hmm.
truck was parked illegally just feet away from the Supreme Court.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah.
Well, the
So I
Supreme
don't know what his
Court.
plan were. They're currently probing his background to learn more about why he drove all the way from apparently California to D.C.
Well, the symbolism. Somebody wants to change the head of government.
Yeah, off
Um,
with their heads.
yeah, you've got the Supreme Court, by the way, is right across the street from the U.S. Capitol. There's
Yeah,
literally a road between them. So I don't know if it was there where they got it,
right.
but yeah, I don't. It definitely seems threatening, right?
It's
Driving
just
around
people are
with
so crazy these days. Anything goes, you know?
oh
Bringing a
yeah.
guillotine to the
Plus, if he
Supreme
has
Court?
that, what else does he have? Because his mindset, you've already established his mindset
Yeah.
might be a little off.
He drove all the way from his home in San Diego to Washington, D.C.
Okay.
Apparently, a very long and tangled Asian name that I won't even dare to try to pronounce.
Okay.
So who knows? No idea for the motive on that
All
one.
right. All
So
right.
that's the way it is.
Yeah. I guess
And
that's the
breaking
way it
news
is.
changes everything.
Yeah. I think we should use that. It should be a theme song.
What,
The
nine to
9 to
five?
5. Yeah. It'd
I
be
love
nice to
it.
get that. All right,
Yeah.
Jerry. Thanks a lot.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Bob.